Well, we're done with Proverbs 1 through 9, and now we go into this section 10 through most of the rest of the book, where each verse, or maybe just a few verses, talks about a different proverb, a different wise saying. And if we went theme by theme, we could be in these next 32 verses for 32 days, and that would just be chapter 10, which isn't bad. You can spend a lifetime reading Proverbs and learning from them. But for these videos, I think what I'm going to do for the next several chapters, and for most of the chapters in the rest of the book, is I'm going to read the chapter, which I just did, and then pick out one verse or a couple verses that I want to highlight that seem good for us to ponder today. And of course, if you're hoping that you'll get a chance to go through the whole book of Proverbs, then when we're done, you can go read the rest of chapter 10 and talk it over with the Lord. In Proverbs 10, there are a few verses that stand out to me that are timely for me. They're things that I need to hear. And that's especially true of verse 28 that says, "The hope of the righteous brings joy, but the expectation of the wicked will perish." The hope of the righteous brings joy, but the expectation of the wicked will perish. This is an interesting phrase. I'm the type of person who's always waiting. I'm always thinking, life will be good when this happens, or I hope that soon this happens, or even if I can't say what it is, just the shape of my heart is it's always waiting. And so I really have to think about what it says here, that the hope of the righteous brings joy. The thing that the righteous person hopes in, the person who's walking with God, the things that they hope in actually bring joy. They actually arrive at them and then have joy. But the expectation of the wicked will perish, it says. The things that the wicked person is hoping for, and really anybody who's not lined up with God, they're just going to wait for that thing, and eventually that expectation will perish. The world around us is always telling us to hope for the kinds of things that will bring us fleeting joy or no joy, that we may never even get, that say your life would be good if you had this thing, but of course you can't afford that thing. Your life will be good once it's like the people's lives on TV, but of course nobody's life is like TV. And if you, like I often am, if you are always waiting for life to be good, it's worth pausing and saying, is that because the things I'm waiting for are not the things that God means for me to wait for? Of course, we wait for the return of Christ. In one way, we will be waiting this whole life until the next life. But in another way, the hope of the righteous brings joy. God means for us in this life to anticipate the kinds of things that he means for our lives to actually be full of. He wants us to be longing for the things that he loves to give, that we can actually receive from him, that life is made to be made up of, and that can be full of joy. The hope of the righteous brings joy, and we're meant, of course, to live by joy. It is a fruit of the Spirit in our lives. The hope of the righteous brings joy, but the expectation of the wicked will perish.